Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Steven Cheever's Mind Trip. Appreciate you tuning in. On today's episode, I want to talk about giving you some strategies for more consistency in your sales. Consistency is one of those things that it's a big game changer whenever you can be consistent with your production, especially if you are working for somebody, especially if you're in a role where you're not actually selling for your own business. You're maybe a contracted salesperson, or maybe you are a full-time employee. But having that sales consistency, being the guy that brings in 20 sales every single month consistently, maybe he goes up a little higher, but he never really drops off. That guy is super valuable in anyone's business. What employers don't want is a sales guy who's erratic, okay? And what you'll tend to see sometimes in the sales industry is you'll have sales guys who maybe have absolutely mega months. So let's say, they maybe make like 40, 50 sales one month, and then the next month they make like 10, right? Employers don't love that. They love it when they do the 40 or 50, but they absolutely despise it when they do the 10. What you want to be is the guy that's consistently above target, or the minimum at target, month after month after month, because you can build a team around that guy. And not only can employers benefit from that, okay, which is good for your career and it's good for your long-term standing with whatever company it is you work at, but it's also good for you as well, because you want to have consistent paychecks. If you're that consistent guy, one, the business knows what you're likely to bring in every month. They can build around that. For yourself, you kind of know roughly what you're going to get paid every month. You're not making 10 grand one month and 500 the next. And that's also good for if you ever want to buy a home, get a mortgage, get a loan, anything like that. Lenders absolutely despise erratic paychecks, okay? They love consistency. Everybody loves consistency. I'd rather have a guy that's consistently making 20 sales a month for me than a guy who is, like I said, he does 40 one month and then he does 5 the next, right? That guy he clearly has talent because he can make that amount of sales, but he's not consistent. And consistency is just something that you're always looking for as an employer, right? So I want to teach you some strategies today that's going to enable you to be more consistent, and also on the months where you maybe do have a small dip, where you can forward plan for those, okay? You can analyze ahead of time. With market trends and things like that, what's likely to happen in what month. For example, when I used to sell cars, we sold a lot of cars in January and sold almost no cars in December. And the reason for that was because the registration plate would change on January the 1st. So if somebody bought a car 31st of December, they were instantly going to lose a fortune on it, because let's say you bought it 31st December 2023. As soon as it hits 1st of January 2024, that car is a year old. Even though it's only a day old, it's a year old on the book, okay? So everybody would hold off registering cars, picking up their new car until January, okay? So we never ever sold a lot of cars. You could still sell a lot of used cars in December, but nobody wanted to buy a new car in December. Everybody came in to buy their new car in January, okay? So whatever industry you're working in, you want to look at market trends like that as well. And you want to, if there's such severe market trends like that, like in the motor industry, for example, like you can do nothing about that. Doesn't matter how good of a salesperson you are, you can do nothing about the fact that in your industry, the product you're selling is going to lose immense amount of value in the space of a couple of days, right? You can't do anything about that, okay? But what you can do is you can acknowledge that, shit, I'm probably not going to sell a lot in December, so what I should probably do is take a percentage of my salary every month, put it away, knowing that when it hits December, when I get completely fucked by the market, it's not actually going to affect me, okay? So let's first talk about establishing a strong foundation, okay? So you really want to build a robust sales process that can weather any storm, okay? You want a well-defined strategy that sort of, it acts as the keel for your sales ship, right? It keeps you on course even when conditions are tough. So What you want to do with, the aspect of consistency here is that you're showing up the same every day, okay? You want a strong foundation on a strong process in place that you can come into work every day and you can hit the ground running with that. What you don't want to be is that guy that maybe some days, he's calling up 20 follow-ups and then the next day he's calling up zero, right? You want to have a process in place that there's time blocked out in your diary every single day that at this time I'm going to do this. At this time I'm going to be, selling, whether I'm on the sales floor or whether, I'm taking calls or whatever. Okay. You want to manage your diary in that way and have processes around that that are going to enable you to consistently have the same output every day. Okay. So, in a scenario there, you could say, well, the first 30 days or the first 30 minutes of my day, I'm going to make X amount of calls. Okay. I'm going to try and make X amount of connections. I'm going to try and book X amount of meetings for myself, whatever it is. Okay. Then between this time and this time, I'm going to have appointments. Okay. So you've got your appointments that are already set in, they're locked in. Again, if you work on like a sales floor, you could be like, this is a time where I'm free to take walk-ins. The other times I'm not. Okay. The more that you can actually build up that consistent routine, that is going to help you massively stay consistent with your output. Okay. What you don't want to do is be showing up every morning and just winging it. Okay. Yeah, I'll have a late breakfast this morning in the canteen and then, I'll maybe make some calls around 12. Hopefully some walk-ins come in. That's just no way to actually build your foundation. Okay. You need to have a robust system in place of what you're doing, when you're doing it, how you're going to do it. Okay. And that also goes for getting into the likes of your script, okay, and getting into the actual process as well, okay, when you're actually taking people through the script. Because again, if you stick to a strong process, there's a variable there. You know how long it takes. Your script, my script typically takes about 45 to 60 minutes. It can stretch to up to 90 minutes. If you're taking payment and, somebody has a lot of questions and things like that, really it should never take any longer than that. But that is kind of the gauge for that. Okay. So again, you can build a system around that because, well, to be honest, it should really only take me an hour to do a sales call. Okay. So I know if it's going to take me an hour, I can fit in 5 of those a day. Okay, that's 5 hours. I'll book them all back to back. And then other times throughout the day, I can do follow-up calls. I can prospect. I can cold call. I can do whatever, okay? So having that strong foundation in place is going to enable you to be way more consistent with what you're doing, okay? Like I said, if you're just winging it, it's just not going to go anywhere, okay? And again, if you're working for an employer, okay, whether it's a contract or a full-time basis, right? They're going to love seeing that consistency out of you. They're going to love knowing that, okay, Steven's on the phones this morning. Great. I know where he is. I know what he's doing. Okay. Then I know this afternoon he's got back-to-back appointments. Also, what you want to do is have backup plans for appointments that either no-show or cancel last minute. Okay. Because that is going to happen. You might have 5 appointments. You may only sit 3. Okay. So always be prepared for that as well. So always have a backup plan that if this person doesn't show, this is what I'm doing instead. Right. What you don't want to do, and 99.9% of salespeople are guilty of this, is they just sit around and wait. They give it like 10, 15 minutes because, this guy's not showing. I'll have an early lunch, or I'll sit and scroll on Instagram, or I'll do this, or I'll do that, right? They just waste the time. What that person should be doing is like, right, fuck, I've got like a free hour here. Let's see how many follow-ups I can do. Let's see how many cold calls I can get out. Let's see how many more appointments I can book in for next week or later this week, okay? You need to have that strong foundation there because that is going to enable you to have consistency in your output. All of these metrics are important because, again, if you're doing, 200 outbounds one day and you're doing, 10 the next, that's not consistent. So that's not going to lead to consistent output for you. Okay. So it's super, super important to have that well-defined strategy that's going to just keep you on course. Okay. So, and again, this is something that I don't feel like enough salespeople nowadays. Like I don't feel like this generation coming through of salespeople are hungry enough. A lot of people, too many people are like happy to pick up like a basic salary, or they're happy to just take inbound leads. They're not hungry enough to go after extra ones themselves. If their appointment doesn't show up, they get on Instagram, they do all this shit, right? What you need to be doing is hunting for sales at all times, okay? Always hunting, always hunting, always hunting. And this is the other thing too, is if that appointment cancels on you, right, you need to get on the phones. You need to fill that time with something else. If you're saying my minimum metrics are like 200 calls a day, and it gets to 5 p.m. and you're on like 45, like you should be working late until you hit that 200. That's just like the idea of going home early is just insane to me. It's like if your base metrics are like to hit 200, that's your foundation. That's like our minimum, and you do like 45 in a day because a sales call ran over or somebody was late or this, that, the other. Again, that's not going to give you a consistent output that you want because you're not hitting the minimum metrics. Okay, so that is really, really, really important. And I see salespeople, like I said, I see salespeople doing this all the time. Whenever I look at sales reports from people, I'm like, what's the inconsistency here? Like, why have you done 200 this day and you've done 45 this? Why have you done 60 this day and you've done 300 this? I goes, like, I'd rather just see, rather than 300 one day and 60 the next, I'd rather just see 200 every day. I just want to see 200 every single day, okay? I'd rather that because I know that is going to give me a consistent output of metrics that I can work with, okay? Whenever things start to go like this with metrics, there's no predictability. And I'm going to go back to what I said at the start. Employers love predictability. They love consistency. They love knowing that they can count on you as the guy who's going to bring them 20 sales a month, okay? Because if I could get 10 guys that are giving me 20 sales a month, right, I know I'm getting 200 sales a month, right? I can build around that. If I've got like a team of guys where one guy's doing 40 and the next he's doing 10 and this guy's doing 30 one month and then the next he's doing 5 and he's doing this and he's doing that, I can't build a business around that. It's insane, right? That guy who's got like 40 sales one month, right, thinks he's the greatest salesperson on earth, and then next month he does 10 and the next month after that he does 10, right? That guy's ready for the chopping block because I've already forgotten that he did 40 2 months ago, right? If he's going like 40, then 10, then 10, then 5, like that guy's probably getting fired, okay? So you don't want to be that guy, because when you do that big, huge month, you're walking around the showroom, you're like fucking huge balls, you're like, I'm the fucking greatest guy on earth, just to like tank the next month. Nobody wants that guy on their team. So that's what I have to say about establishing that strong foundation, okay? What you also want to work on is just having and adopting a flexible mindset, okay? So like flexibility is a key to stability, okay? You want to discover how adapting your approach in response to the market changes, the feedback and results can lead to a more consistent performance over time, okay? So I talked about at the start how whenever I sold cars, we always knew there was going to be a dip in December, okay? So you had to change your approach. You had to change your approach in the other months of that quarter, okay? You had to change your mindset from being like, I'm going to sell a lot of cars this month to I'm going to sell a lot of cars this quarter, okay? Because even the sales manager knew you weren't going to sell a lot of cars in December. He's not firing anyone or busting anyone's balls in December for not selling cars, because it's like borderline impossible task. Almost everybody took their holidays in December. If you had wife, you had kids, you were off most of December, okay? The single guys that didn't have to do the whole Christmas thing with their families and young kids and stuff, they all got stuck working there, right? Having that mindset of knowing the market trends, again, is going to help you be a bit more consistent, because you're aware of what's coming up, okay? You're aware of what may be going on in the market. You're aware of your previous metrics in years gone by, okay? It's going to help you being in the game much longer. There's a lot of high ticket closers. There's a lot of young guys getting into sales. They're maybe only in it a couple of months, whatever. They don't have the data to look back and say, well, this time last year and the year before that and the year before that, this happened and it's kind of like this, right? They don't have that data. They're just going off what's here and now, okay? Staying in the one industry and ideally with the one company for several years is also going to enable you to have access to more data, which long term is going to help you to have that flexible mindset. If you're constantly like changing industries, changing jobs, changing who it is you work for, right? You're never going to have access to that data. Now, they may have access to data of other salespeople, right? But that's not your data, okay? You know, again, if you get into like the fitness industry, for example, very similar in the sense with cars, and like people don't buy fitness programs in December, they buy them in January. Okay. Whereas if you work in like a retail environment, everybody's buying in December for Christmas. Everybody's buying in November for Black Friday. Okay. There's a lot more, you know, if it's a product that the age of it doesn't really matter, it's not affected by a change into January, right? Okay. Jewelry may be another thing, big at Christmas, big at Black Friday. But then, of course, there are like watches and things like that that are maybe like a 2024 model versus a 2023 model. Could be a very similar watch. The only difference is the serial number on it, but again, changes the value of it. So knowing these market changes, being able to look at previous results, being able to look at feedback is going to allow you to have more consistent performances over time. Because again, you know, if you're working for a sales manager for several years, you're working for the same boss for several years, you know, you guys are going to build up that rapport. He's going to know what your numbers were last year. He's going to know what your numbers were in these market changes. He's like, oh, it's okay. I know he's going to have a shit December, but he always kills it in January for me. Okay. Being able to analyze that data and know that these months are my big months, should probably not take any holidays off in these ones. These are my shit months. I'll use my vacation time here. It's going to, again, just lead to you being more consistent. And that's what you want, is consistency. Again, going back to it, you want to be that guy that's averaging maybe 20 sales a month, whatever it is, okay? You don't want to be the guy that's doing 40 in January and 5 in February, okay? You want to be the guy that does 20, 20. All right? That's what people love, okay? So, routine and discipline in your sales activities, okay? As I sort of touched on at the start, having that sort of routine and discipline about exactly what it is that you want to be doing, having habits, sticking to a disciplined schedule of sales activities is going to smooth out your performance fluctuations, okay? So if you are, for example, logging onto your CRM system in the morning and there's like 3 follow-ups waiting for you, right? And you do the 3 follow-ups and then you go, all right, my first appointment's now for 45 minutes here. I'm going to chat shit with the admin girl, right? That's not helping you drive performance, okay? As I said, you need to be blocking out times in your calendars. You need to be blocking out set windows that you're going to do specific things. Now, there's apps that are free and there's apps that cost money that will do these things for you, okay? A free example of this, which almost every salesperson will have, especially if they go to work for a company, is Outlook. You'll get an Outlook email, you get an Outlook calendar. What I would recommend that you do is block out time blocks in that. So whenever you come in, it could be like 8:30 to 8:45 morning meeting, 8:45 to 9, you know, paperwork, whatever it was that you had to do yesterday, making sure everything that you did yesterday is 100% done, okay? What you don't want to do, which again is common in the sales industry, is sales that you've done yesterday, you don't want to like have fucked up the admin because you were lazy, right? If you needed to set up a subscription on Stripe, you don't want to have forgotten to set up that subscription. If you're selling cars or something, you haven't signed off the paperwork to order the car, you haven't given in to the admin girl, whatever, right? All those little things, they need done right away, okay? Then you can have it like 9:45. I'm going to do my follow-up calls. I'm going to cold call. I'm going to look up who's due to renew with me. I'm going to look up prospect list. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to make X number of calls between now and then. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to have time for walk-ins, okay? But even if you're waiting for walk-ins and you're free for walk-ins, right? You maybe say to the receptionist, again, I'm using car sales as an example here, say to the receptionist or whoever's booking you walk-ins, I'm free for walk-ins for the next 2 hours. Okay, cool, right. We know you're free. Sweet. But that doesn't mean you sit there and go, make fucking calls for 2 hours. Like sit there and cold call for 2 hours. Sit there and prospect, like do whatever it is you need to do. Just call. Okay, we need to get your activity up. That is going to be a huge part of it. Getting your activity up. We need to get your activity up, okay? Minimum amount of activity every single day, okay? If you're skating through your day, you're not getting shit done. And again, like even if you are like an inbound, like high ticket closer where your appointments are set for you through ads or appointment setters or whatever, right? And again, like I said, like at the start somebody cancels on you or whatever, right? That is the perfect time for you to go just open up your CRM and be like, even if it's not your job to make cold calls, go make fucking cold calls. Book your own appointments. Like you might have closers seem to think that they're like they're too proud to make cold calls, right? That shouldn't be the case. Like even just because you're a closer, if somebody cancels on you, like don't sit and scratch your ass for an hour. Like go make cold calls. Go and dive into the diary and be like, right, I'm gonna fucking cold call 100 people here, okay? Because realistically with cold calls, not everybody's answering, okay? So boom, into the diary, start cold calling. So having that routine and discipline in your sales activities, that you know what you're doing every single day, is just gonna, it's gonna skyrocket your performance, but two, having that consistency every single day that you're gonna be posting, or you're gonna be pumping out 200 calls a day, you're gonna be doing this, you're gonna be doing that. If it's consistent every day, if your input's consistent, your output's gonna be consistent, okay? The problem is, like I said, whenever one day it's 200 and the next day it's 30. That's the issue, okay? One thing as well, I don't feel like enough salespeople invest into is, continuous learning, okay? There's a huge power behind continuous learning. And that is, embracing the mindset of being a lifelong learner, okay? You want to have continuous improvement through ongoing education, training, and skill development to stay ahead in the sales game, okay? Things are constantly changing in sales. Tactics are changing. New methods are coming out. There's new sales coaches coming on the block all the time, like yours truly. If you started in sales 10 years ago, right? The stuff that you learned back then, if that's the same stuff that you're using and you've never invested into any other type of learning, you're going to get left behind, okay? So I think it's really important that no matter if you're new to the game, you're old to the game, if you're not happy with your output and you're not happy with the money you make, you need to invest money back in and time back in to making more money. You need to learn new tactics. I don't know how many times I bought a course online, or I went to a seminar, or went to something, and yes, sometimes I went, oh well, do you know what, this is kind of similar to the last guy, I've kind of learned this before. But you always picked up at least one new thing, and you could take it away and say, right, well, do you know what, I'm actually gonna give this a blast, see if it works. And pretty much any time I've taken something like that away from a seminar, from a course, from something, it's went into my process. It's built around the system that I actually use now, okay? I've always taken something from someone else. I've never went on a course or a seminar and learned absolutely zero. There's always been a new perspective. There's always been a new outlook. There's always been a new tactic, even just a different way of asking a question, maybe a different way of getting into someone's mindset or their pain points or doing something, because everybody does something differently, okay? So no matter how good you think you are, you're never the finished article. And I would encourage you to invest some money and invest some time into a sales coach that you really respect, that you really like, that you know gets great results, okay? Because that guy is going to be able to teach you something new. You're going to be able to take it back to what it is you do. And like I said, increase your output, increase your performance, and hopefully increase that consistency, okay? Now, I've touched on a little bit there with, some technology. Technology is a huge thing for efficiency, okay? So I want to run you through some of the technology that you can leverage for that efficiency that we use in our business, and I recommend that a lot of our clients use or give to their sales guys. One thing is a CRM system, okay? Having a real CRM system is a big bonus, okay? We use a system called Close. We also have a system called Go High Level. We use Close at the minute. We've looked at switching to Go High Level. We haven't made a big decision on that yet. But they both basically do the same thing, right? It's a customer relationship manager, right? It enables us to keep track of our leads, enables us to keep track of pipeline, enables us to forecast sales that may be upcoming, okay? All of that stuff there is really important. So if you're in a sales role now where you don't have a CRM system, like even go out and just buy a cheap one, okay? Even go out and just use Trello or something like that. You have to be tracking everybody in some way, shape, or form, because you're just never going to keep on top of all those leads. You're never going to keep on top of all those follow-ups without a real CRM system. Trello is not really a real CRM system. It's, it's for tracking. It's really more a project management system. Some people have used it as CRM. We've used it as CRM in the past whenever, we didn't have a lot of money to invest in a CRM, but there's cheaper systems out there. Close isn't particularly expensive. I don't think Go High Level is particularly expensive. You can go out and get these types of systems. You don't need like a HubSpot or a Salesforce. Those are for huge corporations, okay? So getting a CRM system, really, really, really useful. You also want to look at, for managing your diary, I talked about Outlook earlier. I use an app that also works alongside Outlook called Motion, which is like an AI. And I put all my tasks for the day in that, and it uses AI to like put them into the correct order to do them, depending on how important they are, depending on how long it's going to take. For example, if I didn't get a task done, if one task ran over, it would automatically rearrange my diary to make sure that I can either get all those tasks done that day, or if it's not physically possible based on the parameters I've given it to actually get them all done that day, what it's going to do is move it into the next day for me. And then it's like priority number one. Hey, you didn't get this done yesterday. Don't forget to finish this, okay? So Motion, in my opinion, if you're per time management, if you're per like blocking out those blocks, like I talked at the start, Motion's very, very good for that. Calendly, again, is another great system for like actually booking in appointments with you. It's going to have full access to your diary. It's going to let people know when you are and aren't available. It's great for booking in those calls. It's great for booking in in-person meetings as well. What I like about Calendly is you can obviously set up, not only does it book people in and it has full access to your diary, but you can set up workflows off the back of it as well. So, it sends confirmation emails. It may send, if like what we would do is send like pre-sale emails as well. So it's like get people hyped up to show up for the call, tell people what the call is about, let them understand what they're getting themselves into, send them text messages to watch things. It's a great system. It's, in my opinion, it's a way better system than if you're phoning people up and saying, hey, I've got between X and Y to book you in, right? What I would typically do on that is, instead of like going, if you are doing that type of, appointment setting, is instead of, I saying, hey, I've got between like 3 and 4 here, and then, clicking into your Outlook and booking the appointment, is that I would either book it into Calendly myself, so it automatically sends them the confirmation emails, it does all that type of stuff. Or what you could do is, while you're on the phone to them, you could send them a text with your Calendly link on it. You'd be like, hey, I'm just going to, and if you have a CRM system like Close, you can make calls through it and text through it. So you could say, hey, I'm just going to text you through a booking link if you want to jump on there, see what times work for you. So instead of you going, hey, I've got like 3 or 4 tomorrow, trying to like alternative close them, then they're maybe like, I can't do 3 or 4. Then you've got to do, oh, well, maybe I could fit you in here. And they're like, no, I can't do that. You can just text them and be like, hey, just jump onto my Calendly and book in for a time that works for you, okay? So that's another great piece of technology there. As I said as well, with the, if you get yourself like a good CRM system like that, you can make phone calls through it. You can send text through it as well. And that's also going to enable salespeople as well. Like sometimes my sales guy, I'll just be sitting and like some guy I spoke to 6 months ago will text him through the CRM and be like, hey, I'm ready to move forward now. Okay. That sales guy's completely forgotten about that customer. They maybe tried following them up. It didn't go anywhere. That guy's like sat in the same issue for 6 months, and then he's went, hey, no, I've got this guy's number. I'm gonna text him. Okay. So again, if you don't have those systems in place, that's more lost opportunities because you haven't got that system there that people could just, on a whim text you back. Okay. And believe me, like he gets a lot of texts like that completely out of the blue, just has like happy little seals that just fall out of the sky for him. So really, really, really useful systems there. Okay. Another one I would utilize a lot is Zapier, which is for automations. So, you can use that in cohesion with either your Outlook emails, or you could use it in cohesion with the likes of an active campaign, which is, for sending like more, thousands of emails, or, email series or whatever. I like Zapier because you can set up like tons of different automations on there, which are always great for your sales processes, for moving people along through pipeline. Like my guys don't even have to move people through pipeline. What happens we use Zapier and Close together and Calendly. So when someone books in for a call on Calendly, it creates the person on CRM. Zapier takes it from Calendly, creates it on the CRM system. Whenever the call takes place, Zapier knows that the call has taken place. It moves the person down the appointment or down the opportunity to the next opportunity stage. The only thing it doesn't do is, which we could set it up, but we actually just like doing it manually, is when the deal actually goes through, is it marks it as won, okay, or marks it as lost or whatever, okay. So we just do that bit manually where we get it through to the last stage and then we mark it as won. So when someone books in for their second call, it moves them through the opportunity stages as well. So that's all automated and it's great. So those are some pieces of tech that we use day in and day out that you could utilize. It's going to help way more with lead gen, follow up. And again, that's just going to help you get more consistent sales. And if you are using those systems, again, it enables you to, keep track of your activity every day. So, 200 calls minimum. That's what we do. We don't do any less than 200. Okay. The other great thing about a CRM system, it's going to help you cultivate those client relationships as well. Okay. Especially if you work in a industry where people renew or buy new products, okay, where you're not maybe selling a one-off, okay. If you are working in like fitness programs or you're working in coaching or business mentorship or things like that, typically they're a one-off sale and then they maybe auto renew and they kind of roll on the back end. You don't really need to have another call with people, okay. If you're also selling for yourself, you're developing that relationship as it goes. But if you're maybe selling cars or selling jewelry or anything like that, right? Or maybe you're selling stocks and you want to sell somebody another stock, right? You want to have like a CRM system in place that's going to allow you to cultivate that long-term relationship with clients. What you want to be doing is, after you've sold something to someone, calling them up the next day. How are you getting on with that? You enjoying it? Do you have any follow-up questions? Oh no, this is great. Really love my new car. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. No problem whatsoever. You maybe then want to call them a week later and say, hey, just checking in. It's been a week. Is the car going okay for you? Yeah, no, car's great. Thank you very much. Then a month. Then after 6 months. Then after a year. Okay. And you're just calling. It's just a nice, like, hey, just calling to see like how you're going. Right. You're now their guy. Okay. Even if this is only the first thing they bought off you, you're now their guy. They're not like, now some people will, don't get me wrong, but 90% plus of people, right? If you're their guy, you're the guy that's constantly checking in on them. You're the guy that sold them it. You're the guy that's looking after them. They know your voice. They know who you are. They know what to expect with you, okay? They're going to come in and ask for you, or they're going to actually call you or maybe text you through the CRM, email you, whatever, and say, I'm thinking about getting another car, right? I'm thinking about this. I need a new watch. It's my wife's anniversary, blah, 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 right? You're the guy. You've cultivated that client relationship. Again, if you aren't being strict every day with your sales activities, you're not doing your follow-ups, you're not checking in with people, you're not doing all these things, those people aren't going to come back to you. You've sold them a car and you never speak to them again, right? If you call them after 3 years and be like, hey, do you want to buy another car? They'll be like, who are you? Oh, you're that guy that sold us the car last time. All right. Yeah, no, we actually, we went to Mercedes this time. We actually, we bought something else, but thanks anyway. And you're like, oh, fuck's sake, right? That's a renewal lost, right? You didn't cultivate the relationship. Okay. So again, you want to make sure that you're always calling your old customers up. You want to make sure you're managing that through a CRM. You want to make sure you're on top of that. That has to be part of your daily sales activities. You're following up with people you've already sold to. You're making sure they're happy. You're getting data on them as well to be like, when would you typically change your car? After 3 years, after 4 years, after 5? And then you can keep putting that in the diary being like, they're not going to change for 2 years, but like, we're going to keep on at them. We're going to keep on up. When it maybe gets 6 months out from whenever they typically change, then you can invite them in and be like, hey, I want to show you the new model. I want to show you this. I want to talk to you about this. Okay. Let's just see where you're at with your finance agreement. Let's see if we can get you out of that yet if it's too early. And then when you're thinking of actually changing in about 6 months time, then you've already got all the information. Okay. Sure. Just come down and have a coffee. We don't even have to do a test drive. Come down and have a coffee, see the car, take the car away for 24 hours, leave your car here while we service it, whatever, right? These are great ways to cultivate that client relationship and keep a steady flow of repeat business and referrals coming in as well. And that's a big thing right there that people don't and don't do enough of, salespeople don't do enough of, ask for referrals yourself. Don't wait for the guy you're working for to send out a marketing email asking for a referral. Ask for people to refer people directly to you, okay? Because what you don't want as a salesperson is, the business maybe sends out like a marketing email being like, is there anyone you could refer to us, whatever. And then they're like, oh yeah, I could refer this person. They send it back to the marketing team. Marketing team gives it to some random other guy in the sales, in the sales team, right? Because the business doesn't care who sells them it, but you've just lost a potential referral, okay? So always make sure you're giving out, whether it's a digital card or a real card, you're giving out your business card as well, and be like, hand those out to your friends. Anybody's interested in a car, give me a shout, okay? And the final thing that I really want to talk about on today's pod is just measuring and analyzing performance, okay? It's not enough to do all the minimum stuff without going back and actually measuring it and analyzing the performance, okay? If you do have a big month and then you have a shit month, it's important to actually look back and be like, well, what were all the variables that led to that incredible month? And what were all the variables that led to that shit month? Understanding your numbers. One, if you don't keep track of your numbers, you're not going to be able to look back and understand them, okay? You need to understand all your percentages. You need to understand all your outputs. You need to understand, how many outbound calls did I make that month? How many appointments did I set for myself? How many inbound leads did I get? How many walk-ins did I get? If you do like a 2-call process, how many people showed up for the first call? How many people showed up for the second call? How many people no-showed? How many people did this? How many people did that, right? Having all of these metrics and variables enables you to actually go into the data and say, right, okay, cool. I understand these numbers. Looking back at it, the month that I sold 40, I did 3 times the amount of calls. More people showed up for the calls because I was, calling the day before to make sure they showed up. I was sending reminder text messages. I was doing this. Okay, cool. Right. The shit month I had, well, I was off the first week. I went on vacation, and then whenever I came back, I didn't do this. I had people not showing up for appointments, and I didn't do as many calls. Yeah, I wasn't really sending reminder texts. I didn't do a lot of follow-ups, and that happens in sales, right? That happens in non-consistent salespeople where it's like they have a big month and then they go, I don't need to do all that shit, right? I don't need to do all that shit. They don't actually realize that doing all that shit is what led to them having the incredible month. All they think about is the sales. And they think, I'll just do that again, right? Then they take their foot off the gas. So you always got to keep your foot down. You always got to keep that consistency. You always got to keep at it and at it and at it and at it. And trust me, that's what's going to lead to you making the big bucks, okay? The consistency, when you have that baseline consistency, whenever I talk about consistency and I say it about the guy that's doing 20 a month, you don't want to be the guy doing 20 a month forever, but you want to be the guy that's baselines 20 a month, okay? You want to be the guy that no matter what, I know he's bringing me 20 a month. Maybe some month he brings me 18. I can live with that. But he's always generally bringing me 20. And over time, we talked about cultivating client relationships. Okay, now the baseline moves to 25. Now the baseline moves to 30. Now he's the guy doing 40 every month because he has repeat business. He has tons of referrals. He does the same shit every single month. Okay, he makes the same amount of calls. He does this, he does that. Okay, and over time, you might get even more efficient at making the calls. So instead of doing 200 calls, now you're doing 300 because you're way more efficient with it. Maybe you get and invest in a speed dialer, an auto dialer it's calling 2 people at once, and when one doesn't answer, it takes the other call and it starts ringing the next person in the background. Okay, there's tools like that as well that are going to help you produce more and ultimately get more out of the back of it. Okay, so you need to measure and you need to analyze your performance. If you're not measuring it, you can't analyze it. Okay, and if you can't analyze it, then you don't know what produced it. Okay, so make sure you're doing all that. Okay, so in summary, you want to make sure you've got that strong foundation. Okay, you want to have a flexible mindset going into it. Okay, you need to know that, some months, depending on the market, can be shit. Okay, you need to know where your peaks and troughs are. okay? So that you can try and be consistent throughout the periods, okay? You maybe know in a December, for example, I need to make 10 times the amount of calls because I'm not going to have any walk-ins coming in, and these deals aren't going to make themselves. I used to sell new cars when I was in the motor trade. That's the way our team was split: new cars and used cars. You didn't sell new cars in December. So what I would do is sell used cars. I would just whereas typically a new car sales guy, if a used car walk-in would come in, they'd be like, no, I don't deal with that person. Okay. In December, you bet your fucking ass I dealt with that person. I was like, yeah, I'll sell you the fucking used car, right? Okay. Because I wanted to make the money. And that's the way you've got to be with these things. You want to have routine and discipline in your sales activities, okay? There has to be a routine set. There has to be a discipline that I do this as a minimum every day, okay? I don't care if I stub my toe on the way back from lunch. If I have another 150 calls to make, I make 150 calls, right? Don't make shit excuses up as to why you can't do your 200 calls a day, your 300 calls a day, whatever your activity's set up, okay? This is another thing that I didn't really touch on, but again, does piss me off as salespeople, is if you get set like a target to do 200 a day and you work like an 8-hour work shift and it takes you 3 hours to do 200, but you're there for 8 hours, don't just go, I've done 200, okay, I'm done for the day. Like, do another fucking 200, do another fucking 400. If you can fit it in, just do it. Just do more, okay? The more activity you do, the better the output you're going to have, all right? Continuous learning. You need to keep investing in yourself. You need to keep getting better at what it is you do. You want to leverage the technology. I named some of my favorite pieces of software that you can steal, you can go away and buy, or you can take the free trial on. We need to cultivate client relationships. We need to make sure that that is something that we are actively nurturing. You're actively watering that plant so that over time they are going to come back. They're going to buy from you again. They're going to send their friends to you. Okay. And the last thing there, we want to measure and analyze our performance. That's probably one of the most key parts of this is having the data, measuring it, and being able to analyze it. And being able to say, okay, I think I got this output because I did this work. So if I do this output again, I should get a similar result. Okay? And then you can go and test that hypothesis and see if that's actually how it turns out. And if it doesn't turn out like that, then you might have to go away and say, well, okay, I did 200 calls last month and I got 40 sales, and I did 200 calls this month and I only got 20 sales. Oh yeah, but actually it's December, so that's the market. That's the market. The market has fucked me there. So actually, if I wanted to get 40 sales because of the market dip, I actually probably needed to do double or triple the amount of calls this month, and so on, okay? I don't want to get into like all the weeds with it because it's going to be really boring and you'll turn this shit off, but you get the gist of it. So that's some strategies you can take away to get more consistent performance in your sales. And go away, try those, give me some feedback on it. I'd love to hear what things you're working on. If any of this is new to you, if it's stuff that you know you should be doing, but you're just not doing it, go away, try these things for 3 months. Come back to me and say, hey, Stephen, leave it in the comment section. That actually really worked. I've got like a way more consistent output now. Or feel free to come back and tell me, fuck you, that didn't work at all, okay? And then I'll reply and I'll tell you what you can do to improve it. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.